Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie. This just doing a quick video on getting you guys introduced to the STEAM Services building um, and the modeling that you will do. So we're just going to do a quick little intro video for assignment one. Um, this is going to be just half of assignment one, kind of the first part. And then the second part will come in another video. So the first thing that I kind of want to get everyone on the same pages is that I want everyone to pull up the assignment and to scroll down and look at the rubric so that you know what you need to get done for this assignment. So looking at the rubric, the criteria, kind of these little sections that we have modeling the correct area. As you can see that we're only modeling grid lines 9 through 11 and A through F. And so this first assignment, it's kind of pretty self-explanatory for this first part because most of the basement is 9 through 11, A through F, but it does go on to grid line 6, which you'll see later. So don't worry too much about that. But the first thing is that that's our first criteria, is to see what grid lines that we're going to be modeling. The second is that eventually when you turn in this assignment, you're going to want to have a basement floor plan sheet. Very similar to the sheets that you've been making in your Revit intro assignment. This is just going to be a tad bit more detailed, have a little bit more information, but you guys know how to do this. Next are wall assemblies. So the STEAM Services building has a few different wall types and wall assemblies, which I will show you when we get to it. But in this first assignment, we're going to be focusing on 4 wall assemblies, and are these 4. So we got EW3, M8, M4, and M8.2. In this video, I will be covering putting down the grid lines and the levels, creating the wall assemblies, and drawing the walls on the sheet. In the next video, part 2 of this video series, we're going to be covering the rest of these criteria, which is going to be the door, the floor, the staircase, and also we're not going to be covering the extra credit because that will kind of take away the purpose. So maybe we'll hint at it, but we're not going to tell you too much about this. We want you to figure this out. And then again, just remember that we want this file to be an RVT, so a Revit project, and everyone's Autodesk Construction Cloud should be fixed by now, so we should be submitting it to both Canvas and ACC. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we went through this, and you guys should be reading the rubric when you start every single assignment. You want to know what you're supposed to be doing. All right, so now I'm going to pull up Revit. And you should still be able to see the screen. Yep, perfect. Just making sure. Don't want to repeat of last time. All right, so we're just going to start a new Revit project. So I'm just going to go to models, new, and you're going to keep all this the same. It's going to be Imperial Multidiscipline, and we're going to start a project. This project means that it's going to be an RVT file, which is what we want. If you were to accidentally click project template, it would create an RTE file. We do not want that file. So make sure that you click project right here. All right. So once this loads, we're going to have our project file all up. I am doing this in Revit 2025 because a lot of you have 2025. For those that have 2026, again, most of the stuff is exactly the same. So don't get too worried about it. All of these lines, you can keep them on here if you like. Sometimes I like to just highlight all of them and click hide and view and then in elements so that they're just gone. Up to you though, it's a personal preference. So we're going to start with doing the grid lines. Like we said, we're modeling grid lines 9 through 11 and A through F. And if we look at our drawings. And since this first assignment is focusing on the basement, if we look at the drawings, this is our A101 sheet, which is our basement plan. And so A through F is all of these grid lines here on the side, and then 9 through 11, it's just 3 grid lines. So we're only doing about a small portion of the basement. So just about this portion here. Not too much. But we're going to be taking that all the way up to the roof. So yeah. And then 9 through 11, we do recognize that the staircase gets a little cut off. That is okay. That's supposed to happen. We are going to not necessarily stop modeling at 9 in the case of the staircase. Obviously your landing can carry over in order for the staircase to actually be complete. Again, we're going to go over that in part 2 of this video, so don't worry about that too much. Right now, we're going to be focusing on putting down our grid lines, our levels, and making our wall assemblies. So I'm going to move this over to my other screen that I have here. You guys won't be able to see it, but you should have it pulled up next to you as well. All right, I'm just going to move this down here, something like that. Okay, so let's put down our grid. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're in our L1 floor plan, and I'm just going to click grid, and I'm just going to start drawing our grids. I'm going to start with A through F. So I'm going to make this my F. Create elements are visible in floor plan. That's okay. Now, why is it doing that? Odd. Not sure why it would do that. Let me do a quick little bit of troubleshooting, and I will get back to this. Resume recording. Okay, everyone. My problem was that when I hid everything, it didn't like that and it didn't let me put everything down. So I went ahead and unhid all of this so that I could put down my grid lines. Um, I believe you should be able to, this is your, yeah, I believe you should be able to hide everything back now. And it should be happy enough for you to put down your grid lines. Yep, there we go. Okay. So just quick reminder, put your at least one grid line down first, and then you can hide all of those lines. So yeah, I'm just gonna put down my grid lines here. Try and line them up. Oh goodness, I did not do that very well. So right now mine are numbered. I'm just gonna adjust it so that they say A. Actually, no, we're gonna start with F at the top. And then F, E, D, C. We do have grid line B that does exist. Please include it. It comes in handy in when you get to the higher levels and not necessarily in the basement, but still included. So I need one more grid line here. All right, there we go. Oh, oops, I see the problem now. I'm going beyond my crop region. So maybe you might want to keep the crop region visible, just so that you don't go beyond it. All right, so I'm going to actually space these out how they should be first before I draw my my other grid lines. I'm also going to unhide my scope box. So yeah, that's what I'm going beyond. So actually I'm going to unhide them real quick so that I don't keep making the same error. I'm going to take all my grid lines and just move them up. so that they're centered in this box. Okay, so the best way to kind of do this is start at one grid line and kind of set that as your main grid line, and then do all of your measurements or dimensions off from it. That's kind of how I like it. So if we're putting F as our main grid line, for example, according to our drawings, the distance between F and E is 10.3. So I'm just going to click on 10, grid line E, type in 10.3, so that it gets closer to F there. I'm also going to go and adjust the top. Yep, so they're in line now. And now I'm just going to do the same. So now I'm going to move down and do the distance between grid line E and grid line D. According to the drawings, that is 6 feet. So I'm going to click on D. I'm going to adjust the distance in between to 6 feet. And also adjust this so they're in line. And repeating this process between grid line D and C. According to the drawings, it is 14.5. So I'm going to adjust that dimension real quick. And going to do it again for grid line B. The distance between C and grid line B might be visible or more easily visible if you look on sheets. Yeah. Actually, yeah, you can just look to the left of sheet A101, so our basement plan. Here, I'll put it to the screen to show you guys. Right here, grid line B has a dimension constraining it with grid line E. So we can make that dimension real quick so that we know that grid line B is in the correct position. So let me move this back to my other screen. And we're going to make a quick dimension between grid line B and E. Just going to put that off to the side for now. And I'm going to click grid line B and adjust that dimension. According to our drawings, it should be 26.3. Okay. And then lastly, grid line, oh, that should say A. All right, grid line A. We can go back to our right side, and the distance between grid line A and grid line C is 14.10. So I'm going to adjust this little bar here to grid line C. So what I did is that these grid lines, sometimes when you click on them, they have dimensions already, kind of like this little phantom dimension, right? And you can adjust where it kind of uses as its endpoints. So I adjusted it from grid line B to C. So doing that, I'm going to adjust the distance, and it should be 14.10 between them, and press enter. Perfect. So now all of these should be correctly dimensioned. And to check, what we can do is dimension them with the actual dimensioning tool and go along and make sure that our distances match with what's going to be on the sheet. So I'm just going to go along the line between every single one of them. And I'm matching what the sheet is so that I don't have to kind of redo these dimensions when I turn this into the basement plan sheet for your final submission. So I'm just kind of matching how they dimension it on sheet A101. So that's the main one. And then they do a big dimension from, yeah, we're not going to do that just yet. Okay. All right. So that's kind of like the main thing. And all of these match sheet A101. So we got 10.3, 6, 14.5, and 14.10. Perfect. Okay. So that's our grid lines A through F. So now we're going to do our grid lines 9 through 11. So that's just going to be 3 vertical grid lines. I'm just going to do them over here. So 1, 2, and 3. And again, it's okay that, they're letters. So now we can fix that. And it's from left to right, it's going to go 9, 10, and 11. And I'm just gonna make sure, double checking that you guys are seeing my screen. Perfect. Okay, fantastic. All right, now again, we're gonna dimension those. So grid line, we're gonna pick one grid line as kind of the uh the endpoint, right? The solid point that's not going to move, and then we're going to move the other grid lines according to it. So I'm going to keep 11 where it's placed at, and I'm going to move 10 and 9 to the correct spacing. So according to our drawings, grid line 10 is 13 feet away from grid line 11. So I'm just going to click on grid line 10. Gives me that phantom one again over here. I'm going to adjust that to 13 feet. Great. And then I'm going to do grid line 9 and keep grid line 10 in place. And according to our drawings, that is 19 feet. Wonderful. So you can see that we have all these grid lines over here that are going out way too far. So we can just scrunch them in a little bit. So this is going to be our building area, A through F, and 9 through 11. Let's scrunch these guys in. Maybe not too much. That's good. All right, perfect. So our grid lines are finished. They're complete. So that is one thing done. Next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put in my levels so that we can also get that out of the way. So that when you are doing assignments 2 and 3 and you're getting to that second, third, and roof levels, you don't have to add them in as you're building. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to one of our elevations, either one of them, it doesn't matter. So here I'm just going to east. We got levels 1 and 2 visible. We do have a basement, so we're going to need to add in basement, levels 1, or the ground floor. You can add in the shop floor, but we won't be modeling anything that should be constrained to it. But it's still nice to make sure that you have it in there. So first, since you can kind of see that we don't see everything here, so I'm just going to make this scope box a little bit bigger. So if you click on this kind of hard lined box and you go over to your properties tab and you click on views overall and you change it to none, click apply. Now you can adjust it. So I'm just going to scoot it down a little bit and scoot down our scope box as well. And this box as well. Okay, great. So L1 is at 0, 0. So that's our ground floor, so our first floor. And I'm going to use the elevations. I'm going to use the north elevation, as you can see here, as kind of what I'm going to get my elevations from. And this is on sheet A201, exterior elevations. So I'm going to be using this north elevations as a reference. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename L1 to first floor. And rename L2 to second floor. Just so we know that those are correct. Next, I'm going to move up my grid lines because I know I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm also going to move them down as well because we know we're going to be putting in a basement. So let's do that basement. So we're going to click over here in our architecture tab. We're going to go to level. And I'm just going to draw in my basement. So I'm going to call this basement. Bam. And according to that north elevation, our basement is at negative 14 feet. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm also going to adjust my second floor as well, because that should be at 14 feet. Great. Now I'm going to add in the third floor and then the top of wall. So there's my third floor and there's my top of wall. I'm going to switch over which side those appear so they stay consistent. Those little bubbles. I'm going to rename this to third floor. And this guy to top of wall. And I'm going to just abbreviate it. All right, so now the third floor, we know, according to, again, that north elevation, it's at 28 feet, and our top of wall is at 42 feet, 8 inches. Wonderful. All right, so everything is in. I'm going to move these up a tiny bit higher. That's all good. And now the next thing that I'm going to do is just going to check the rest of my elevations to make sure that my grid lines are present in each of them. So you can see in our north elevation, one, it's not too pretty, so I'm going to fix that real quick. And then also you can see that our grid lines don't extend. Oops, I'll see that. Our grid lines do not extend above and beyond, so we're going to make sure those occur. Okay, so our north and our east elevation are good. Going to look at our south. South is looking good. Again, not too pretty, but you'll spruce that up, make it look nice later on. And then our west is all good as well. Perfect. Okay, so that's our grid lines and our levels all finished. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to move on to the wall assemblies. And then also I'm going to show you just an example of placing the walls, and you should be able to go from there to place the rest of your walls. Okay, so the wall assemblies that we needed to focus on were EW3, M8, M4, and M8.2. I'm just going to drag over the drawings again to show you where we can find these wall assemblies. So in the first, kind of the second page, page A002, wall and partition types and site plan, it's where you can find all the different wall types and their assemblies. So we are going to be focusing on EW3, which is our basement wall, M8, M4, and M8.2. Now, for the M's, we have one category because it kind of splits it up into different categories here. So M, and then it has this pound sign, which kind of represents that number, 8, 4, or 8.2. And then we see here that the underneath in these two different types of walls that we have the M8, the M8.2, and the M4. Now, it's important to note that M8, this kind of M8 wall here, what the 8 or really the number means is the nominal, nominal dimension of these CMU blocks that are being used. So their nominal width, right? Or really their thickness. As you can see in the 8s, they're a little bit thicker than the 4s, right? And then the 8.2, what that 0.2 is referring to is the 2-hour fire rating that is going to be on this wall. Yes, you do have to make 2 separate walls for M8 and M8.2. They will be practically identical when you're making the assemblies, but they will be named different names, and they will occur in different areas because the reason we have a 2-hour fire rated wall is for our stairwells. We want to make sure that our stairwells are fire rated. Okay, so these are our wall assemblies here. I'm going to keep this page. I'm going to move this again over to my other screen so that I can keep it as a reference. And now we're back in our Revit, and we're going to click architecture and wall. So you can start with the basic 8-inch, and then just kind of adjust it from there. Let's make the EW3 wall first, which is kind of this exterior basement wall. You can pick one of these to be as a base. I'm going to just show you, I'm just going to pick I'm going to just pick this general concrete one, and I'm just going to build it up with you guys. So your first thing you're going to do So you're going to edit type and the properties tab, edit type, and then you're going to duplicate this because you do not want to edit one of the presets of Revit. So we're going to duplicate it and bring this over here. We're going to name it, and we're going to name it EW3. Click OK. So now we have an EW3. Perfect. We have our wall. And now we actually want to make it. So I'm going to go to Structure and Edit. And now we're going to add in the different components that make up this wall. So for the EW3 wall, according to our drawings, you have a 16-inch concrete wall that is on the interior side, and then you have a continuous waterproofing membrane, and then you have a continuous below-grade rigid insulation, and then that is about it. Yeah. And then the stone fill and everything. Great. So, doesn't give you too much dimension. Let me make sure that I'm going to find the correct reference for you guys real quick. Okay, I am back. All right. So I excuse me. I did some digging in the drawings, and I was able to find a wall section with all of the dimensions on it. So this is a great little troubleshooting trick. Not necessarily troubleshooting, but just utilizing the drawings given. So we see this EW3. It doesn't necessarily give us, I mean, it tells us what's in the wall, but not really the dimensions. And we need the dimensions so that we create this wall assembly properly. So what we're going to do, we know that it's an exterior basement wall. So we're going to go to our basement plan, and you can either pick it out from it being an exterior basement wall, or there should be a wall tag somewhere around here that says it's an EW3. We can search for it. Let's do that. Show you a bunch of different ways to find this information. We're going to search just this current page. And there we go. Here we go. EW3, typical basement wall construction. And then there's another note. Exterior walls at basement level shall be, oh, here we go. 16 inches of reinforced concrete. A continuous waterproofing that technically they did not give us a dimension for. And then 2 inches of insulation. 2 inches of rigid insulation. Perfect. So you can do it this way, right? That's a great way, just another way to find that information. Or you can click on this section right here that will bring you to drawing 6 in this page. And this shows you a section of that exterior basement wall. And right here, it tells you it's a concrete wall. You got your waterproofing and then 2 inches of rigid insulation. Perfect. So now that we have the completed wall assembly, we know our dimensions, we're going to build it here. So I'm just going to insert 2 more kind of categories. You have your core boundaries, making sure, like, you don't have to go outside of your core boundaries. That is fine. So what you really want to focus on is at the top, it says exterior side. So to us, our exterior side is going to be the rigid insulation. And our interior side is going to be the reinforced concrete wall. So let's might as well go and find our rigid insulation. So just click on category and those 3 little dots that appear, and your material library should pop right up. And I'm just going to look up rigid insulation. And boom, right there. So it comes up with 2. Either or is fine. I'm just going to use this one. right here. And I'm just going to click OK. So there's our rigid insulation, and it told us that it was 2 inches thick. So I'm going to put that in there. And then we also have the waterproofing membrane. So I'm just going to include that. Let's see if it comes up with anything with membrane. All right, roofing, vapor retarder. You can use a vapor retarder. That is totally fine. Since either way, this is not going to have a thickness, so it's okay. For right now, it is just for purposes of showing you how to include it. And you don't put any thickness for it. And then our last thing is reinforced concrete. Right here it has cast in place. We can find a different concrete if you like. Concrete, lightweight, precast. It's not CMU, so you can actually use any one of these concretes. Let's keep it cast in place. Why not? Because that's it would be cast in place. So we're going to keep that, and we're going to adjust it. It is 16 inches. So I'm just going to type in 16 inches, and it automatically puts it to 1/4. All right. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to say must have membrane layer function. Oh, that's no problem. Membrane layer. Sorry, I accidentally clicked thermal and air. Should be membrane. And click OK. And OK one more time. And boom, there's our EW3 wall. Perfect. Now, let's make our other walls. So our other walls are going to be M8, M8.2, and M4. For those walls, we can just use the drawings given since they are just CMU walls. So they're going to be nice and simple for us to make. So again, I'm going to go and I'm going to click concrete 8. Or you can actually do generic 8-inch masonry. I'm still going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call it M8. Oops, sorry. M8. Click OK. And I'm going to check the structure. Always double check the structure. This one, see, it has a thickness of 7 5/8. That would be actual thickness, but we're just going to put in the nominal thickness in the case of this model. And you can keep it as concrete masonry units because that is what it is. Perfect. So we're going to click OK. And before I click OK again, I'm going to quickly make the M8.2 wall. So I'm going to click duplicate again. And I'm going to go M8.2 and click OK. And there's actually going to be no difference for this wall. Yes, it has a 2-hour fire rating. But in our case, the wall assembly is not going to change for it. So we're just going to keep it like this, but we will use that specific wall in certain spaces. And you will have to, and we will be checking to make sure that you use it, because don't play around with it. I'll click OK one more time. And our last thing is going to be M4. So I'm actually just going to go and duplicate M8.2 one more time and go M4. Click OK. And you're going to edit that structure to be 4 inches instead of 8. And OK. Okay. Wonderful. All righty. Now, just in case, I'm going to double check with my drawings. M8, 8. Okay. I'm just making sure that I double checked with my my deliverables from the rubric to make sure that we have everything. So those are our 4 walls. And now I'm just going to place some walls so that you get used to that. All righty. Actually, yeah, I'll just place a couple walls. Because there is a little bit of a funky dimensioning going on. But we're all familiar with placing walls. So what's important to note is that the main exterior walls are that EW3. So you're just going to find it here. wherever it may be. There it is, EW3. And you're just going to place it. You don't worry too much about um the the shape. You just want to do kind of a general shape for it for right now, and we'll fix it later. All right. um I'm not going to go over this too much. You guys know how to place walls. You know how to make sure that the walls are facing the correct direction. Right now, I drew them facing the correct direction, but if they were facing, for example, this direction, we knew that is wrong. The rigid insulation is on the exterior side. You know how to dimension it to get your walls into the correct placement. What I really want to preface before I end this video is how the drawings tell you which walls to use. So you can see here that this the exterior wall isn't wall tagged like it normally would be. It does have kind of its contents down here, but and then also in the notes and then right here it says that the typical basement wall construction is that EW3. So that's how you know that this thicker outer edge wall is that EW3 that we're using. And then all of your interior walls are denoted with wall tags. So M8 shows that this is an M8 wall. This little section right here is an M8 wall. And then anything that really has this dark dash in it. And then also, again, it's denoted with that M8.2 for that fire rating. So you see certain specific rooms have the fire rating, your electrical room, your elevator equipment room, the elevator shaft, and then also your stairwell. And then you have an M4 right here. So everything's wall tagged for you. Other thing I want to note out, you don't have to do anything else other than the walls, right? And then these little sections right here that kind of peek out at you, these are your pilasters right here. And that's all I'm going to say about those because I want you guys to figure it out on your own. So yeah, sorry this was a little bit of a long video, but we're going to end it here. And yeah, I'll see you guys in part 2. Okay.